Hi guys, welcome to Building Brawn, and today we're talking about the top set and back off set approach and why it works so well. First of all, in this video we're just going to look at a few professionals, how they are training and how they're training to failure. I'll explain in a second why that's the case, but take a look at these clips, and I just want to clear out first of all, I'm not basically shitting on any of these people, of course, because they're research, we've learned so much more, but trust me, watch these videos, let's take a look.
Good. All the way to failure. There we go, all the way to failure.
That's my failure, man.
How we feel? Let's get after it.
Right, so you saw Brad Schoenfeld and and others in these clips here that have shown how they train to failure, or their high intensity, or their intensity levels of training, what it looks like. Right, so the reason why I'm doing this video is just so we don't take everything at face value. So we see something, let's say Brad Schoenfeld has done a nice piece of research, as he often does, and his team comes up with all these controlled variables and they do a research study, and we basically say, you know what, this has been good so far, so I'm just going to take this is perfect, this is awesome, let's go ahead with it. In the last, let's say 10-20 years, you know, we've got a lot of these research pieces, a lot of this evidence-based system going on. It's helped the industry, the community a lot. That's not the issue. The main issue is, right, we see, as we've just seen, Brad Schoenfeld and others, the way they train, and then they give their recommendations based on what they've seen, and then they say, okay, so close to your 1 rep max, you should be training to your close to your 1 rep max, you know, oftentimes, and having said that, close to failure, go through this many sets a week, this many reps. If the person that's doing the research, conducting it themselves, be it their team, if they're doing it themselves and the way they train themselves is that what we've just seen on screen, can we now take their word for it, if that makes sense? So this video is just basically giving you, you know, everyone sees bodybuilding like this, you know, we're all looking at this. I'm just trying to show you this side here, something we may not know about, or something that we need to consider in our own training. Because, you know, volume itself is not the amount of sets itself, it's not the amount of reps you do, because in that sense you can do, let's say, just the bar for 10 sets with 20 reps each. You won't see much growth on that, you know. The weight on the bar is important also, and then of course progressive overload, things like that, but volume on its own, you know, it's a mix of the amount of sets, the amount of reps, and the weight, and I'm going to chuck in this intensity as well, of how you do all of those in that list. And if we do a Brad Schoenfeld set, just like, I'm just picking on him by the way, not anything specific, it's because his set wound me up the most. As you can tell in this video, I'm a bit more amped up, but basically if we all train like that and we say that's my failure, man, I mean, if you train like that, you could probably get away with doing 8 sets of lat pull downs, and then you go do a research piece, or you conduct a research and like, you know what, oh yeah, that gentleman there who's just failed that lat pull, or who stopped that set, he's reached failure, so according to this we should do 4 sets. Now, as I said, you can probably do 8 sets and you will probably still be okay to go. But if he was actually doing his true 1 rep max, or close to failure, or even anywhere 30% near his failure, because a failure set does not look like this. A failure set looks like this. I'm going to put some examples in here now.
Mechanism. Now up slow. See, up so slow. I know there's a tendency to want to give up. You've got a conscious mind. Fight through that. That's good enough. All right, just make it done. That's good. That's failure.
That's it. Yes, good. Another one there. Another one there. Take it as far as you can. Yes. Little touch, and one. And one now. And one. Down. Yes. Boom. Lovely.
So as I was saying, if he was training close to that sort of level that you've just seen there, those numbers, or that research piece, or that recommendation, I can guarantee you wouldn't be that high. So we're saying 10 to 20 sets, fair enough, that's fine. But if it's based off of the research that he's done and others like him have done, or have witnessed in a controlled environment, however they do their studies, then maybe we've got it wrong. The thing is, my personal opinion, when your intensity is high, so if you train at failure like those videos I've just put in here, if you train that hard, your sets per session have to drop. If not, you'll be doing a deload every week or two, which is counterproductive, or you just keep getting crashed out, burned out, pick up injuries, and that's not an intelligent way to do it. I'm not saying, grab the barbell, rip it off the floor, constantly, hit failure, break your bones. No, I'm saying there is a sensible approach to do it, which we'll discuss now. There is a sensible way to do it, but what I'm saying is that may not be the way. What we're all doing and what we're all favouring on YouTube everywhere here, maybe that's not the way, that recommendation. There may be a better way to achieve this. Let's discuss that now. And before I go into this next phase of explanation or this discussion here, I just want to say, training like Mike Mensa's done, Dorian Yates done. However, this system that has been, I wouldn't say perfected, there's loads of loopholes in this, just like the other side I've just explained. This whole system has been brought to me, or I found it through Jordan Peters, trained by JP, and his work that he's done over the years. So if of course he didn't refine his systems and his explanations and put it out to all of us like the way he's done, I wouldn't have been able to do this video either. So again, thank you. I'm not just gonna make this video and not have tried this myself. For the last month, I've tested this now. So I've done a similar system to Jordan Peters where he would have all quality exercises, so that none of these are like, oh, I'm going to failure, so I'm going to incorporate loads of cable work. It's full of good compound movements, and it's full of good isolation movements as well. So it's not a cop-out or anything. You stick to the hard exercises. You don't hide away from them because you're doing a failure now. The whole point is to do those exercises at high quality to failure. It's not about finding the easy way out and then failing on a lat pull, so it's only one muscle. It's about having a quality session. So I've tested this myself. Instead of doing 3 sets across the board, or 4 sets across the board for a given exercise, I've done 3 feeder sets, as John Meadows would call it, or warm-up sets in Jordan Peters' case. I would do those, and then I would have 1 all-out set between 6 to 9 reps. And of course, if you feel like you've got another one, you get it, you take that rep. But you would do that, and then afterwards you drop 10% of the load for 1 more set following, and then you would do about 10 to 12 reps. I would say 10 to 12 reps. Again, if there is more in there, you take it, because the whole point is for those 2 sets that you're going all out in, you're honing in, you're going basically to failure or as close as possible. You don't stop unless obviously there's a risk of injury, you tweak something, but you go for it. You fail if you can safely, and that's the whole point. It's not something you think about consciously. In your head, you're like, yeah, I'm training to failure. But subconsciously, you've got 4 more sets or 3 more sets of the same exercise on that same weight, and you need a certain amount of reps. Your intensity is not the same. It just will not be the same. For some people, it can be. However, for me, it wasn't. So that's why this video exists. That's why I'm talking to you now. So what that set did to me, because I know I've got 1 set, just that 1 chance I've got in this week for that exercise, in order to basically reach the goal. That would be 8 reps on a certain exercise, or 9 reps if I can. I've got that 1 set to do it, and I've noticed my strength just shot up through that. I know what you're thinking here, right? If you maybe done 3 sets of 5 reps, you would have been slightly away from failure, so your fatigue's a bit lower, and overall you may have lifted more weight. That's not the case, because I've done more reps on that top set now. And then the feeder sets that were earlier, I've got good quality, a warm up in there, stretch in there. So firstly, sorry, just a side note, I've reduced the risk of injury as well because I'm properly warmed up, and that volume accumulates as well. It's not just nothing, because those 2 sets, the top set and the back off set, are almost to failure, if not to failure on most movements. The feeder sets, the warm up sets, they do accumulate volume as well. Because your sets were to failure, those feeder sets there will basically also have their quality. So you're not basically just doing 2 sets. It's 2 sets to almost total failure, and those feeder sets to a relative degree of intensity, whereas your previous sets would have been lower on intensity anyway, right? So your previous sets, the way you would have trained before using a high volume approach, you would have dropped in quality, your weights would have been a bit lower in general, so you wouldn't have reached that intensity, not giving your muscles a reason to grow in the first place. So in those 2 scenarios, if you take a look, you would take this approach anytime. And that mentally basically releases a switch. Knowing you've got, as I said just moments before, knowing you've got 1 set where you can go all out for the week and you're not revisiting the exercise in the whole week and have to get another chance the following week, this is it. And then you go in with a full intensity, it's a night and day difference. Of course, I'm open to any criticism, as usual, you know, leave it in the comments on my Instagram, anywhere, swear at me, or just let me know, you know, you're not happy with what I've just said, or show me another angle, you know, dispute it. I'll be happy to engage in conversation. That's what I'm here for. I'd love to be wrong. It's just something I've found, and I'm not saying all that high volumes, not high volume, I guess, all that research that we're following, or what everyone else is doing, 80%, 90% of the people there are doing it completely wrong. The whole point of this video was to basically see where we're getting our information from, and having seen them present this in their own manner. So let's say, as I said, Brad Schoenfeld's training video, and you've seen Mike Israel, you've seen a few more people. If they are people that are determining that intensity to be, you know, 2 reps in the tank, 3 reps in the tank, then maybe the whole research is skewed. You know, if you're making a cake and you put the flour in a bit wrong, or put a different type of it, and then you tell someone else, you know, it's a great idea to do this, this, this. What if we're all making the wrong cake, you know? And what if this approach is completely right? Again, you can't take this at face value either. You're gonna have to test it out. You're gonna have to try it out. For the rare animals out there, maybe you are going to full intensity, and that's how much volume you do need. But you will notice people that have a good amount of muscle mass development, they are having to scale a bit, having to go down on their volume in terms of the amount of sets they do. I'm not saying train like pros, because we're not pros. You know, most people watching here are not pros. I'm not a pro either. Obviously, you can see. But my whole point is, when the intensity is high, which is what a pro level athlete is, that's the main thing. The intensity is high. The volume will have to come down. It's like a slider. Do you know when you play WWE, when you create your own character, if you put the strength up, the agility would go down, and things like that. It's basically that system. I think I've heard that on GVS's old video before, so I've just stole it from there. But yeah, give this a go. Try it, build a plan, build a program with quality exercises, or even continue your current plan as it is, but put in 3 warm-up sets, or maybe 4 warm-up sets for a compound movement such as bench press or a squat, you know, just so you can have a good transition, because those typically will be a heavier weight. Build up to your top set and a back off set, and then finish that exercise there, but go all out, and then move on to the next. See how that works out. I'll be really interested to know, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Do follow me on Instagram as well. I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next one. Peace.